Welcome to the deep dive. We take your sources, dig in, and pull out the gems, the facts, the insights, basically everything you need to get truly informed. Today, we're looking at the world through a comedian's eyes, based on their recent special. We've got this transcript packed with stories, social takes, and just a really unique view from the road.
Yeah, and our job today is to go through all this funny, sometimes, let's be honest, provocative stuff. Not just for the laughs, though, but to figure out what it tells us about, people, society, what it's like being in the public eye these days. We're going to explore how these experiences shape someone's perspective and what that means for, well, how we see modern life.
Okay, let's dive right in. Life on the road. Sounds like a bit of a nightmare, logistically speaking. You talked about picking places like San Francisco for specials, partly because you got BART, you can drive.
Right, options, right?
Right, but even with options, things go wrong.
Oh, yeah, like falling asleep on the BART.
Yeah.
And waking up miles away in Richmond. Exactly. And that small story, it kind of shows you something bigger, doesn't it? Even someone who travels constantly can just, get lost in the shuffle. It points to this weird anonymity of always being on the move. Sort of disorienting.
Definitely. And it's not just local travel. He hits the international challenges, too.
Oh, the Japan story. That was something else. Being in a restaurant, no English menu, nobody speaks English.
And what does he do?
He ends up trying to speak Spanish, but with a Japanese accent.
Wow. That's resourceful, I guess. Shows how tricky it gets when you're really out there.
Totally. And then there's flying. That's a whole world of its own for him.
Yeah, he talks about this big shift, right? Flying coach for like 10 years, then suddenly upgrades, first class.
And it creates this weird mental thing.
Like feeling guilty.
Yeah.
Feeling he's cutting the line or trying not to make eye contact with people walking past to coach.
Exactly. It's like this internal struggle with suddenly having this perceived privilege. It says a lot about how we view status, even on a plane.
Yeah, it really does.
And linked to that, his observation about people in coach.
Oh, the ones with the expensive gear.
Yeah, like the Gucci backpack, the Louis Vuitton belt, maybe a diamond chain, but they didn't pay for first class.
So he kind of assumes maybe this stuff's fake.
Well, he floats that idea, and it makes you think about appearances versus, actual spending choices. Or maybe aspirations, what signals people are sending.
That's a sharp observation. And then there's the whole seat switching thing.
Oh, he hates that.
Especially giving up an aisle seat. He talks about the guilt trips people lay on you.
Like that couple married 30 years who apparently can't survive 4 hours apart.
Huh, yeah. It's clear he values that personal space.
It's that classic conflict, isn't it? Individual comfort versus, being nice in a shared space. A little microcosm of society.
True. But even first class isn't perfect. The meal lottery.
Oh, yeah, the anxiety. Knowing there are only, 8 good meals for 16 seats on a domestic flight?
And 8 bullshit ones, as he calls them, like bologna on a stick versus steak.
Right. And the stress of being in row 4 and worrying the steak will be gone by the time they get to you.
It shows how that fear of missing out, that scarcity mindset, it can pop up anywhere, even when you're technically living it up.
Absolutely. So to avoid all that potential awkwardness, he generally tries not to talk to people on planes.
Especially dreads the "so what do you do?" question.
Yeah, because if they don't recognize him, he's not going to say he's a comedian.
Because then people want a free show, right? Tell us a joke. Or they tell him some long, terrible joke.
Exactly. He's off the clock. Or worse, they ask if he knows some random local comic.
Like Frank Smith in Milwaukee. Or David Jackson from the YMCA in Dublin.
Yeah, that specific kind of questioning, it shows how people sometimes feel entitled to a piece of you or your profession just because they know what you do. It's a weird burden.
Definitely feels like that sometimes, yeah. So, moving beyond travel logistics, he gets into some heavier social commentary, modern sensitivities.
Right. And his take on cancel culture is interesting.
He basically says it doesn't hit his live shows.
It's more about these short clips, often bootleg, ending up on YouTube, completely out of context.
And then people get outraged, even though they never saw the full hour, the setup, anything.
He mentions an example, like an 18-year-old getting mad about a joke he told 18 years ago about the president being black.
Wow.
It really highlights this whole issue of decontextualization online, doesn't it? How easily things get twisted when they're just floating around as snippets. It affects everyone, not just comedians.
True. And he also touches on topics people feel they're, quote, not supposed to talk about.
Yeah, mentioning things like gender identity journeys, using the Bruce Caitlin example, it's his blunt way of pointing out what he sees as conversational no-go zones.
He definitely goes there. And that leads into some really controversial views on gender roles and jobs.
Oh boy, yeah. He flat out says some jobs women should have and some jobs men should have. Argues there are inherent differences.
Like dental assistants. He prefers women, joking about thick-fingered male assistants.
It dives right into that whole debate, traditional roles versus qualifications, quotas, all that stuff.
And he takes it even further with nurses.
Yeah, he strongly feels nurses should mostly be women. He tells that story about his knee surgery.
The catheter insertion.
Yeah.
And preferring a female nurse, questioning why a guy would even want that specific task.
Right. While also saying nurses do God's work, but admitting he couldn't do the intimate care parts.
And he extends this to nursing homes, too.
Suggesting women should do the resident care, men maybe landscaping or kitchen work.
Then he makes those really provocative jokes.
Yeah, about being a dirty old man at 90, asking for inappropriate things, sexually harassing nurses, even writing a nurse named Cheryl Jackson into his will for, fulfilling those requests.
Shocking, but comedically framed around taboo desires and maybe the power dynamics of old age.
It's definitely pushing boundaries, using humor to explore some really uncomfortable territory.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. His own life story has some wild turns. The military stuff is incredible.
Right. Being in the Navy and on BT's Comic View at the same time.
How did he even manage that? He won a contest as the funniest black comedian using a deep voice on the phone.
But they figured out he was white from his name, Gary.
So he takes leave, films like 25 episodes in a week, goes back to the base.
And months later, the show starts airing while he's literally directing traffic on base. People are recognizing him.
That's insane. And then trying to get out early when BIT offered him a hosting gig.
Yeah, with only 6 months left, he had to go before a board.
And that warrant officer who did not want to let him go.
But he describes this feeling of, taking control, saying, I'm not asking, I'm telling them I'm getting out.
Even joking about doing something crazy like cocaine on the guy's desk, just to prove he was serious.
It's a real moment of him realizing his own value, outside the military structure.
And his time as a Navy cop sounds just as unconventional.
He calls himself a terrible cop for the Navy, but great for you guys.
Meaning he just let everyone off, DUIs, everything. Said the paperwork wasn't worth it.
Pretty much. Loved the night shift because nobody supervised him. He'd just take drunk guys' keys and give them back in the morning.
And the story about pulling over the base captain.
Oh, yeah. Drunk with a woman who wasn't his wife.
And he gives the captain a choice. Field sobriety test right there, or he gets a ride home. No questions asked.
And the captain obviously chose the ride home, and then gives him a letter of accommodation for it.
Unbelievable. It really shows his unique approach to rules and authority.
Definitely. He also had that funny critique of Navy homecomings.
Right, comparing them to Army or Marine returns, saying the Navy guys were just in the middle of the goddamn ocean having movie nights and talent shows.
Not exactly frontline combat.
Yeah, and pointing out they often gained weight on deployment, so the hero treatment felt off to him.
It makes you think about how we perceive different kinds of service, doesn't it?
For sure. And his family background sounds just as colorful.
There's a history of Navy service. His grandpa, his dad.
But also, he mentions his family wasn't exactly normal.
Yeah, the fact that all 5 of his grandmother's daughters, including his own mom at 17, were pregnant as teenagers.
How does that shape someone's outlook, their humor?
It's got to build some resilience, right? And maybe a certain kind of worldview. And then that final family story.
Oh, God, the photo with his dying grandpa.
Yeah. The photographer can't take the picture because...
His grandpa's right ball was peeking out of his shorts.
And the grandpa's response, all you started with this.
Wow. Just raw, defiant, darkly funny, all at once. Says a lot about the family spirit.
Absolutely. Okay, so from family, let's jump to pop culture. His take on Undercover Boss.
Ah, yes, the COVID binge watch revelation. He just tears into it.
Calls it bullshit, repetitive. Same formula every time. CEO goes undercover for an hour.
It's trained by some young employee who then spills their entire tragic life story in the break room.
Exactly. He gives that over-the-top Panera example.
The employee whose dad has cancer, son is blind, daughter needs gender transition surgery, all revealed in 5 minutes.
Right. It's his way of satirizing how reality TV just manufactures these dramatic narratives.
And the CEO's solutions are just as ridiculous in his telling.
$10,000, ordering 30,000 extra raisins for the cookies, offering the blind son his own eyes.
And offering the daughter his own penis for the surgery.
It's such a sharp critique of that performative corporate caring you see on those shows. Really funny, but pointed.
Definitely. Then he switches gears again into relationships.
Yeah.
Very unfiltered advice.
From a man's perspective, as he puts it.
Starting with telling single women to sleep with a guy immediately on the first date.
Yeah, his argument being that men are primarily after sex initially and won't really care about your hopes and dreams until after that happens.
It's direct.
Very. And he slams Steve Harvey's 90-day rule from Think Like a Man.
Calls it the dumbest shit. Says the guy will just sleep with other people while he's waiting.
Yep. He's basically throwing out traditional dating advice and saying this is how he thinks it really works, from his perspective anyway.
He also tackles double standards.
Right. How men get high fives for sleeping around, but women get called names.
And his reframing of a woman with 4 kids by 4 dads.
As proof she must have amazing pussy that guys couldn't pull out from. It's intentional provocative, obviously meant to challenge those judgments head on.
It certainly makes you stop and think, even if you disagree.
Then there's the whole post-nut clarity idea.
That men don't know how we feel about you till we nut. And feelings can just evaporate instantly afterward.
Yeah, leading to flimsy excuses to leave. He's suggesting this sort of primal, almost biological thing can just switch off the emotional connection, temporarily at least.
So his advice for women in relationships to keep things interesting
is basically be open to try new shit.
Yeah.
He claims men get bored easily and are excited by new, even weird sexual requests.
Like suck on my left titty, or put your piggy in my ear.
Or dip your balls on my pussy. Things that might not even make logical sense, but it's the novelty, he argues.
And he uses that Disney Resort Cabana story to illustrate it.
Right. Asking the girl to suck my balls from the back because she said yes.
She gets the cabana, food, whatever she wants. If she said no...
Fight skin cancer like everybody else in a regular chair. It's a really stark, almost transactional view he presents there. Compliance equals reward.
It's quite a perspective.
Yeah.
And he doesn't shy away from his own awkward past either.
Oh, the first fingering story. Brenda, in the gym.
Confusing her belly button for him?
Well, and thinking she was leaking.
It's mortifyingly relatable, that kind of early fumbling.
And then running into her 15 years later at IHOP.
And she just hits him with, you still ain't shit. Brutal, but hilarious.
And finally, learning how to perform oral sex at 23.
When his partner just stopped him mid-act, like, Gary, what the fuck are you doing right now? Apparently, he was just blowing on her.
Oh, man.
But instead of getting defensive, he asked her to teach him. Got trained for 2 weeks.
That's actually kind of vulnerable and shows a willingness to learn. It is. But he finishes by saying, even though he got better, he knows he's still a loser to the women who experienced the earlier unskilled version. It's this really candid look at growth, mistakes, and how past experiences stick.
Wow. We have definitely taken a deep dive today. Covered a lot of ground, unfiltered observations, some pretty wild life lessons, all through this comedian's lens. From the weird rules of first-class flying to some really blunt takes on relationships. It's been a unique look at the everyday.
It really has. And what's so fascinating, I think, is how these personal stories, even when they're told for laughs, even when they're provocative, they actually shine a light on bigger societal things, right? Unspoken rules, human behaviors we don't always talk about. It's like these stories hold up a mirror. So maybe the thought to leave you with is this. When you hear these kinds of unvarnished stories from others, the ones that maybe make you laugh or even cringe a little, in what ways do they actually reveal something true about your own life or the society you're moving through every day? Something to think about.